Thanks for tuning in to Bourbon Drop. I'm your host, Myron. Today is actually Christmas. I am shooting this thing. This is Christmas night. I want to say to my family, I love you guys. You don't see the typical Bourbon Drop wear because this little dude right here, this is my mini-me. This is what they got me for Christmas. This was one of my gifts. So shout out to my youngest son, man. I couldn't stop laughing when I unboxed this thing. Like I said, this is my mini-me. I gave too little, laughed too hard, and ate too much. I am stuffed. Like it's actually even hard for me to sit right here right now and try to give you guys this review. Once again, shout out to my man Scott. Scott got this thing up to me from Florida, so that was another Christmas gift that I picked up. I can't wait to get into this thing. I do have my own thoughts. I got to give a shout out to Scott because Scott hit me up. He was able to pick up two STAGG batch 18s, and he hit me up and was like, "Hey man, they have a 25C down here." I was like, "Dude, can you pick that thing up for me? You know I'm good for it. I'll shoot you the bread." So that's how we did it, man. And he brought this thing up from Florida. But man, I told Scott, I said, "Look, man, since you brought it up here, look, go ahead and get yourself a sample out of that thing. At least you'll know what it tastes like." So he did. He got himself a sample out of there. And when I came home, I got myself some. And I had my own thoughts on it for a second. And I'm hoping that it opened up a little better than it did the day I got it home. Let's get into the nose. Ooh, yes. On the nose, it really opened up. So the nose now, I'm getting a lot more cherry, which I wasn't. I was getting more citrus. I was getting way more citrus and oak. Tonight, I am getting way more cherry on the nose. A lot of vanilla on the nose. I'm not getting that, what I always say, typical Buffalo Trace grapiness. Touch of oak and some ethanol. Now this thing does come in at 125.6 proof. I don't know when the last time there's actually been 130 proof. I think the batch 18 that Scott has is like 130 something proof. I don't think any of the recent batches have been 130 something proof. Let's get into the palate. There's a cherry grape note, a little bit of dates, cherry grape date that are on the palate. So the cherry did transfer over to the palate. The reason why I was hoping this thing opened up is because when I got it home that day, it was like a barrel-proof Buffalo Trace. Now I like Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace, even though I say Buffalo Trace grapiness a lot in these videos, Buffalo Trace is the most citrus forward of the Buffalo Trace line. To me, it had a ton of citrus in the nose and a ton of citrus on the palate. I am not picking that up nearly as much tonight. Not on the nose at all, a little bit more towards the finish. Let's get back into the nose. Yeah, so that oak, that spice, I've said it before, like a celery seed spice. Vanilla, some of that citrus is starting to show up. And a little bit of like milk chocolate. All right, let's get back into the palate. It gets darker on the second sip. The first sip was all cherries and grape and like dates. But this second sip has gotten darker. It's gotten more savory. The citrus shows up way more on the second sip. It was showing up more so on the finish throughout the first sip. I'm getting a lot more char across the back, char and dark chocolate. Back into the palate one more time. That's got a great mouthfeel. That's got a great mouthfeel. Like it's not super oily, but it's not thin. It's like medium plus. Yeah, just really rich, savory, dark chocolate notes on the finish. The finish is where this thing, I would say, shines the most. On the first sip, it was all cherries and a little bit of grape with like the dates. Now it's darker, more savory. The dates are still there. Still got dark fruits going on. But the finish is all chocolate char with a touch of spice. All right, let's get into the breakdown. So brand new 25C, like I said, comes in at 125.6 proof. Does drink its proof, not bad. Doesn't slap you in the face, but you could tell it's high proof. Is it worth the chase? Now, you guys know I am a huge fan of STAGGs. I pretty much whenever I have a chance to buy one, I buy one, and we'll get into the retail and what I paid here in a second. But I've got so many now. For me, I'm not going to say that it's worth the chase. Like 22A was a monster. 22A, I poured it in a glass. I felt like it was special. I like this pour, I do. Would I chase this bottle all over town? No, having it, not looking at the logo on the front of the bottle, if this was a different bottle, I'd say no. But the fact that I feel like I've got to have every Stagg, I think that's starting to wane a little bit, especially like coming off of like my ECBPs. Like I was the same way about ECBPs, now not so much. I am kind of still that way with Stagg. Like I still feel like I have to have every one of them. This one is not bad. It's not bad. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like if you took the logo off this bottle and put another logo on there, I'd be like, this is a great bottle. It's worth picking up if you see it, but it's not worth the chase. Is it worth retail? You know, I told you guys I tend to overspend for Staggs, and I said in other videos where I talked about Bourbon Guide for Beginners, blah, 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 do's and don'ts. I said, do not overpay for bottles. I said, however, I've done this, and there are certain bottles that I will always do this for, and one of them being Stagg Juniors. And this Stagg Junior is no exception. I used to get all of my Staggs for retail. Not so much the last couple. So the store that Scott went to had these for $1.40 out the door. That was out the door. That's still better than what I see them for in my area. So $2.99, $1.99 at the cheapest in some spots, $2.99. We know that this retails for $65. I always try to be as transparent as possible and tell you guys how much I pay for a bottle. Is it worth retail? 100%. Is it worth the $140 that I paid for it? I always told you guys, whenever something approaches that $100 price point, it has to be special. 25C is not hitting me as special. It's not a bad pour. So don't look at this review and think that I am crapping on it, because it's not bad. But is it a $140 bottle? No, not at all. Who is this bottle for? This is going to be for experienced bourbon drinkers only. Stagg is known to punch you in the mouth. The 125 plus proof on this thing is no exception. So this will go to experienced bourbon drinkers only. Will it always be on a bar? You guys know I am a fan of Stagg Juniors. So they collectively will always be on the bar. 25C, if I get a chance to buy another one at a decent price, I definitely will. At retail, I would definitely have it on the bar. And with that being said, let the whiskey flow. Never run out, let's add it to a drop. Till next time.